If you're a business owner or senior manager, you probably had more than enough about all the wonderful opportunities awaiting you in the era of digitalization.
Whether it is big data, cloud, data science, or whatever buzzword is currently trendy.
If you would like to hear someone dissecting these claims and showing you what it actually takes to improve business processes, you're in the right place.
This is Between Data and Risk, where we discuss real-life examples of what works and what doesn't in the world of business operations.
Hello, I'm your friendly neighborhood data guy, Dr. Marian Siwiak. Welcome to Between Data and Risk. Today we'll have a look at starting startups, and we have with us Massimiliano Sulpizi, who agreed to share some of his experiences with us. Hello, Max.
Hi, Marian. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you for coming. I think for our audience, it will be really important topic. Our motto of the podcast is what works and what doesn't in the world of business operations, but everything starts somewhere. And I personally believe that this beginning is very important. We recently had an episode with someone who started startup 10 years prior, and he was building, I would say, the structure, and only when the market was ready for it, they went big, and they were like really big. You know, most of the startups, and some statistics say around 80%, simply die within 3 to 5 years. When it comes to software, it's even higher. It's 80% in the first year. You write about yourself that you started 6 companies and you successfully exited 3. And it's not like you exited, you just, closed the door and said, no, I'm not playing. But, you actually made them a success. And as a data guy, I must say that it doesn't sound like statistical fluke. So what is the secret sauce? What is the magic? Like, is it how you choose startups that you will, engage, or is it the way how you operate them? The floor is yours, sir.
Thanks for the question. It's not that simple to explain. You don't choose the startup you are setting up, launching. Startups. Today, when I started, the first one was in Milan. It was actually in 2004, 5. So in 2004-5, startups was something completely different in Europe, right? So now everyone is knowledge what startup means. For everyone, startup means the proximity of venture capital, the money raising. It's not actually this, right? So I bootstrapped all my first 3 startups, all of them. And the first one was done with my mom coming with me and signing 10,000, not 10 million, 10,000 loan. The first company made 1 million after 12 months.
What did it do? What was the business that you were able to?
Exactly, that's the point. It's about what you actually do. That business was a brokerage, right? I was coming out for a very short time working with insurance, one of the biggest insurance in the world, and I resigned, although very well paid for my age, and the board was shocked. So why are you leaving? Because I don't like to work for you. Just don't like it. It's stronger than me. I need to be the boss of myself. I need to fail. If it is the case, I'm going to fail, but let me do things on my own, because I don't agree with anything what you're doing. So, and I started my own brokerage. They told me you will fail in 6 months. And they did everything to me to fail. But actually, I doubled down everything, and me and my secretary, we made above 1 million with probably 50% margin, free cash margin after 12 months. But again, it was a different way to start up as we conceive today, okay? Actually, that company went to 5 million, but in revenue before I sold everything, because I started doing something different after. But it's about, first of all, is again, you don't choose the startup, right? A startup is something you feel inside. Being an entrepreneur is something you feel inside. Now, of course, as the majority of startups are backed by venture capitalists, the main topic is, are you solving any problem? If yes, which problem is solving strong enough, big enough to make you a unicorn? Back then was not this the case, right? So it was less stressing to start up before, but at the same time, you had much less capital. There's no way you can go outside and say, you guys, give me 1 million. Say, are you crazy? They ask me 1 million for an idea. So it was something ridiculous 20 years ago, right? In Europe, especially in Italy. Now it's a different story, okay? Now, let me say...
If you don't mind, because you're touching on a point that I often have to explain myself. When I start some initiative, I sometimes need to explain that I'm not trying to do a startup, I'm trying to start a new business, and I see the difference that my role, what I do is not to attract investors, is to solve a problem. And currently, every new business all of a sudden wants to be startup. And I think
you're right. But the point is, the assumption today is startup. Any business that you start, it's a startup by itself, by definition, right? But today, it's about, okay, I spend my night and day watching this guy raising 10, 20, 30, 50 million. And why can't do the same, right? And maybe we'll become $1 billion in 5 years' time, which means 1 out of 100 happens. Not 100 million people, 1 out become a billionaire. All the other bankrupt. But the point is, it's more the culture behind it. It's coming, which is good. I'm one of these guys. EquityMatch. When I launched EquityMatch with my friends. I went there. I actually took my phone. I called all of them and say, I'm going to the EquityMatch, right? So I put this money in. You want to come with me? So we raised $500,000 after 20 days. And we started. But it's a different story, right? So I am 52. I have my network. And if I need something, I take my phone. Now, when you are 20, you don't have your network. And if you need something, you need to go out and ask. Now, as I say to all the founders, not all startups are made to be backed by venture capitalists. Because if you ask, first of all, it's very complicated to pitch a venture capitalist. Let's move to the angel, right? If you pitch an angel investor and you ask him money, you must be so convincing that someone must give to a stranger, because you are a stranger, the money back from my share that you pretend to be worthy maybe 2-3 million, but in reality are worth zero. Now, the rate of failure is so massively high that people are very little willing to give you the money unless you are such a great seller, because when you pitch, you must sell them or must sell very, very hard, that you can convince them that you actually can do something with this money and give them the money back, simply talking, with at least 4 or 5 times return. Actually, 4 or 5 times, much more. I mean, maybe they expect 50, 100 times return. No, 100%, 100 times. Now, this is the problem. The way we conceive startups today is venture capital approach. That's the difference what you're talking about, okay? If you create a company because you believe this is something that can grow, you can make a business out of an idea, okay? If you can make 1-2 million per year, giving to you a good life, and maybe taking some employees and giving to them a good life, that's a very good thing. It's an extraordinary good thing, right? And maybe don't fail, because you go step by step with your own money. So you spend what you can spend, what you can afford. In venture capital, it's different. And why this guy failed? First of all, because, maybe we can go later on this, but they failed because sometimes they're just running a business that doesn't make any formal sense. And they just phoned some people, they gave the money to them because they understood less than the founders, that this business is not going anywhere. There are very few businesses that can reach, I'm not talking unicorn status, I'm talking about even 10 million revenue. Very, very few. And you're right. Software, they collapse like hell. Why? Because there are too many. Too many. I've been receiving, I'm not exaggerating, Marian, at least 10 deck per day, AI agents per day. When I go to the call, because actually I'm looking one for EquityMatch, I'm not a tech guy, I'm an entrepreneur, so I need to talk to my CTO often. And when I go to the call, it's okay, come to the call with me. Today I had 30 minutes free. And they come to me and say, are you sure that you can sell this to me? The 99% AI agents are crap, are ridiculous. I had to say, are seriously ridiculous. So, because there is such a hype now in everything that everything must be AI. So everyone starts an AI startup, even though they don't know anything about AI. So this is why, yes, you're right. Today, startups is synonymous of raising money, should not be the case, and not everyone can raise the money, and very few funders should raise the money. They should start only thinking, am I doing the right thing? Am I starting something that makes sense for me? If makes sense for me, should ask money to others? For something that maybe I'm going to destroy. It doesn't work because I can't even test it. Many software company, unless there's some money they can build something of their own, you need extra money outside, right, to build up your software. And maybe you need someone else working with you. Now, the problem is that you are convinced so much that what you're doing works pretty well, and you spend all the money you have to build up the software. When you go to market, the market will tell you, you know what, you should have done something completely different. We don't care what you're doing. Why should I buy this? Goodbye. So you bankrupt because there's nothing you can do more. You need to close.
We will talk about things done wrong in a second, but I want to start positively. Like, we'll start positively, then we'll talk the reality, then we will finish maybe positively, maybe we'll find something. So the first one, you started something, you used your experience and you've seen all the things, how could they go wrong? And you did your own business doing things right. So it's the first business. So I think it's a good advice. Do what you do well and work on the market that you understand well. I guess that's the lesson learned. What about two other? Was it the same recipe for success, or did you try something completely different? Like, okay, now that I made some money, let's just do something completely different.
My life has been always in fintech and banking, so all my companies have been there. There were different companies, and the last one was a pure merchant banking. But the point is, idea is not everything. Actually, idea is the less you can do, right? The amount of very good idea is very little. The amount of idea is huge. I mean, you can have any idea any minute in your life, okay? If you have a bit of imagination. How many ideas can actually be turned in a business? Very little. How many business will be turned in a very, very, very little? So be pragmatic. So the recipe when you succeed in startups is not ideas, it's execution, right? So you can even borrow an idea, right? And if you
get inspired,
why not? You can borrow an idea and do it better, and that's fine. As long as you execute as you must execute, right? Execution is 90% of any success in startups. Idea by themselves, they don't go anywhere.
Funnily enough, the same was when I was still in academia. It was pretty popular saying that everyone can have an idea and the ideas are cheap. The idea means nothing unless you can research.
Does cost anything? There are too many.
Okay, let's move to EquityMatch. What is it? How are you different? Like, why do you do it? How do you do it?
But thank you. EquityMatch has been built on trying to lower the rate of failure for startups. So what we did, we took the founder in the middle and say, what this guy need, right? To better understanding what they're doing, to better understand how to raise money. But raising money is not the entire journey as a founder, okay? Maybe you don't even need the money. That's the point. So what we did is, okay, what founders actually need? They need networking, of course. So networking with who? So we started giving them a network like LinkedIn with investors and mentors, real people. We are adding advisors. We are adding also entrepreneurs. We are adding IT developers and CEO level. This all creating the humus all they need in terms of acquiring knowledge. At the same time, we allow them to raise funds on the platform. They can raise money on the platform. Actually, by the end of the year, you will be able to place the round, notifying the round to all the investors with AI, bring the investors on your profile, commit the money, run your due diligence, commit the money, investor can pay you through the platform. And after we build the secondary market to allow both investor funded to sell share of the secondary market and cash out the investment when they need. But at the same time, investment is not everything, right? So you need actually the support by mentors, investors, whoever they are, well-established entrepreneurs that give you the receipt to do not make the mistakes another 1 million people did before the year. At the same time, you need knowledge. So we're building EquityMatch Academy to teach them how to build from an idea, a business, scale, and exit if you want to exit one day. And after we are create EMTV, 24/7 TV like Bloomberg for startups. We talk about startups all the day. And after this is all online. And after offline, next year we want to open one accelerator per country in Europe. Of course, we can't deploy everything overnight. We take years to do something. So that's a decade project.
What countries will be first on your list?
We are talking with Malta now. Let's see if we find an agreement with them, because we normally do this in proximity with governments. And after we move to the next one. But anyway, we are talking with them now. We see what's going on. And if we decide, if we close, we open that. Otherwise, we move to the next. And after we want to open EMBC, it's going to be a pre-seed stage VC fund investing in the startups. They are on EquityMatch in our accelerators, up to 250K for 10% stake. First investor after friend and family bootstrap. So the receipt for EquityMatch overall, again, that's a very long project. We take a step by step. EquityMatch is already online, equitymatch.co. You can absolutely upload for free. Create your profile for free and you can use it. It's already bid for roughly 10%, but the overall project, of course, we take a while. As well, the offline, we aim to complete EquityMatch in the next 24 months, totally completely up to the TV channel. Meanwhile, the offline mapping Europe with accelerator takes time, because we need to be realistic. It's not opening a software. That's a different story. As well as launching the venture capital fund. So we are fully committed in fund as much as we can to reduce the failure. There are many other very well entrepreneurs that try to do something similar. I'm very happy because the ratio of startups to investors is just too high. I mean, any 100 startups, maybe there is 0.5 investors or even less.
I was checking for the startup market in Europe a couple of weeks ago. I think Netherlands were very strong in startups, Berlin, I think these two. So, and of course, the UK.
I mean, the hubs in Europe, yes, Berlin, Paris, London, and Amsterdam. But many others are coming. I mean, East Europe is moving pretty well. And there is a very pro-tech approach. East European are very good in developing technology. But, I mean, I'm an entrepreneur, so I've been doing entrepreneurship for the last I'm 52, so more than 20 years, almost 25. And there is a huge emphasis now in software, very little emphasis in hardware. But the point is, I really would like to see much more emphasis also in hardware. Hardware means something that you can touch. I'm not a big fan of Elon Musk, but I agree on creating a company like Tesla is not building a software. The difference is huge. When I decided to do my master, instead of going to finance has been all my life, I went to Polytechnic in Milan. Pure production. Me knowing nothing in production. But I did this because I want to understand how to build a company from the scratch, but an operational company, a pure industrial company. And this was the best experience in my life. Indeed. So I do advisory to many companies. I've been advising from yachting to fashion, very heavy industrial companies. I've done probably, 50 in my life already. Yeah, even more probably. And the difference is huge. Now, the startups today are 99% software. This comes because venture capitalists are 99% software. So funders, when they decide to do something, they don't do what they like. They do what the trend is. That's why you have so many AI agents that are worth nothing. You have so much AI that just a pure illusion, because 1 out of 100 of these companies make some real AI. The rest is absolutely nothing. Pure algorithm like was 50 years ago. And that's the problem. The problem is, as I said before, they don't do things because they believe in what they're doing. They do things because the markets bring them where the market wants them to go. That's the problem.
Funny thing about agents, I was mentioning on my previous episodes that I wrote an agent that was supposed to help people with mental wellness. I failed to start funding it because I realized I have no idea how to sell it. Making an agent is extremely simple. I was just interested. We wrote with my wife and my friend one of the first books on using ChatGPT for data analytics. And, playing with the tool, I created an agent. It is actually awfully simple, especially when you have ChatGPT to help you. It's just, I noticed that the market is stuck full and there is just no way that I could market it, so I dropped the idea. And to be honest, I'm still waiting.
Maybe yours was good enough, but yeah, you need to raise money.
It could be the best, but without access to the market, as you said, ideas are cheap. I think that currently, even writing an agent is as easy as having an idea. It's a couple lines of code.
I agree. I mean, when you see this massive flow, it's like driving a car. If everyone is driving a car, cannot be complicated. So agents, I never seen so many people coming to me pitching, which I don't even open the email. As soon as I read AI agent, just bin it. What's the point? I mean, they're all the same. Totally useless. Is you're right. It's becoming commodities. When something becomes a commodity, forget. Zero value.
I think it comes from your financial experience. There's the saying that if even your cleaning lady tells you to buy, it's time to sell. So I guess this deep understanding of the market movements, that if something becomes so popular, it's just the bubble waiting to blow. But it's interesting. Let's say we can move to the next topic, because you said you get hundreds of emails. I will write the best AI agent in the world. It will solve all the problems. So I guess one of the problems of a lot of wannabe entrepreneurs is following the flock. It's this drive to go with the flock, and just maybe someone will choose me over others. Is there any other? The second thing that we covered is thinking that if you have an idea, it's enough. I guess that's the second problem that people have, that they underestimate amount of work and knowledge you need to build a business. Is there any other area that someone who wants to be an entrepreneur should stand in front of the mirror and say, do I do this or not? Like some absolute killer that will bring, even they have good idea, let's say. It's not completely following the trend. What is the third thing that they should absolutely avoid?
They must avoid the lack of planning. They do not have a plan. So they believe, okay, I got this idea. First of all, raising money on an idea without even having an MVP done, it's extraordinary difficult. Which means, you had to have nothing to do, enough money to live, to start doing something so crazy, which means have an idea. I'm going to sell an idea with 8 pages of deck to someone. Someone did back then, maybe 10, 20 years ago in the United States, or 30 years ago, where venture capital really much started the very hype with the .com. But doing this in Europe, I believe is suicide. So funders, when you have an idea, the first thing concrete you need to do is, do I have enough cash, or to park what I'm doing? So if I'm working, to resign and spend all my time here, and maybe in 6 months I get something done to show, go to the investors, have another 6 months, or run away. And in 6 months, you need to find the money, otherwise we'll die. Still too short. It's very rare you can raise the money on MVP in 6 months, unless you do something very, very good, and unless you are very, very lucky. So I would say 24 months. Now, how many people has in their pocket enough cash as a funder? The majority of funders are aging between 20 and 25, probably a big chunk of them. That's the age. Unless your fathers and your mother and father give you the money, and you don't need to work, yes, you can do something similar, right? But again, so the first thing is you need to plan. You need to have cash to plan. Be very simple and realistic, okay? Without massive words and with a very, very simple understanding. If I don't have cash, I need to keep my work. When I come back home, working at night. This idea. I still need to build an MVP. If I'm alone, be a solo founder. I've been solo founder for all my life. EquityMatch is done 100% by me. Except of course the tech, I'm not a guy, so after I hired the CTO. But be a solo founder, it's a mindset. You must be extraordinarily resilient because you got everything on your shoulder. But I've been solo founder for my life, so for me it's normal. For me it's very complicated to have a co-founder for my character. So it will be very, very difficult for another person to stay with me. But I strongly advise everyone to have a co-founder. At least one, because you share problem, you share solution, and it becomes less stressful to build up something that 99% of the time will collapse. They must be aware that it's going to fail. 99%, you're doing something that probably will fail. So you must absorb the failure and learn from it. But the biggest problem any founder has is believing too much on an idea they really strongly believe without any testing to the market. You can do all the market research you want. It's worth it zero. You must have some proof that the market is accepting your idea. So you need to have some traction. Even no money. I'm talking about adoption. So at that point, you can start selling your idea, your MVP to investors, but don't go out and sell ideas on paper because they are worthless. There is no way. Another thing they absolutely lack is the simplicity in explaining what they're doing. If you come to pitch to me, right, high, deep tech, that is going to be, I'm not a deep tech guy. I can invest in deep tech, but I'm not a deep tech guy. So when I turn to them, say, can you speak to me like speak a 6-year-old boy? Because if you start using terms that I don't know, it just pisses me off. So I need to stop. So I'm wasting my time. But the point is, if you can't explain this in simple words, you don't know the problem. You don't know what you're doing. So what's the point to give the money if you can't explain to me what you're doing? Because the problem for many founders, they don't put their feet in the investor's shoes. They don't understand. Actually, they don't even know who is the investor. They spam everyone. That's the problem. And so the first thing you need to plan. You need to have a plan. The second thing is you need to have cash that support your plan. The thing is, don't spend 12 months to create an MVP. Spend 3 months, go out, ask the market what they think about. And if it's wrong, go back. You need change it, pivot all the time until you get it right. And when you get it right, start talking to investors. Now, this requires money.
I think
So unless you want to sleep 3 hours per night, this is what you must do. And building something that you believe. Founders must learn that this is something that not everyone applies. Must learn to be humble. And they are not humble. Many of them, they are not. So if there is something that investors like, it's a big-headed founder, co-founders better. The perfect match are at least 2 guys, okay? Possibly male, female, because the brain of a female is much more balanced than the brain of the man because it doesn't have testosterone. And they are more...
my wife always tells me that.
But that's true. And possibly be totally different because equal people, one is, if you have 2 people, they are absolutely same. First of all, they do not match. Second, it's a duplication. What's the point to duplicate yourself, right? Third, they must be very big-headed because this is what you need. You need someone you really believe what he's doing, but at the same time, very humble to learn. Many of them, 8 or 20, have done nothing in life, seriously nothing. Maybe outside school, who finished university. Many of them, they didn't finish university. And they believe they know already everything. At that point, what's the point to bet on someone that is not even able to receive some advices, right? Because many of them, they make so many mistakes done already by others. So why want to repeat something that 100 million people did already? Listen to others. That's why mentors are there. That's why real investors are there. Because investing in a very early stage startup, you can't just give them money. You need to help them sometimes. You need to spend some time to talk to them, to tutor them, to mentor them. That's the only way you can avoid lose the money after 6 months. But lack of planning is by far the biggest, and the very lack of cash management is a massive lack.
I guess it's important, especially for investors, because it will be their money that will be managed later.
Of course.
So I guess it's a great advice for you.
It's very simple to test a founder, right? If they go for a meeting and they must sleep overnight, if they sleep overnight in 5-star hotel, that's not a good founder, I'm sorry. That's all, right? If you sleep at 3-star hotel, and you leave the money in the account of the company to run away a bit longer, maybe there's someone who can go away, can go farther, beyond.
I understand that. I think I slept in 5-star hotel once, and not on my expense. When we are talking about most of the companies fail, as you said, what do you think is let's assume that we have this founder, he had an idea, he built an MVP, he raised money, right? So he already have some solid foundations, hopefully. And then most of them fail anyway.
Oh yeah.
What is the main risk they encounter? Is it this lack of market fit? Is it operational? Is it team management. Some of them fail, when they start growing, from our experience, we help set up processes. When you have this founder, co-founder, 2-3 other guys, they talk to each other, up to 15 people, you can still talk people to things. Then you need to scale to turn this experience into processes. But what is in your opinion the worst enemy? Let's assume the founder is okay, or maybe not. But what is the predator?
You don't know if the founder is okay until he scales the company or she scales the company. So starting with a bit of funding, it's okay. It's not complicated at all. And you can start, okay, getting some traction, it's fine. Maybe you're good enough to reach 1 million. Now, 1 million revenue, again, I'm divided between private equity and venture capital. One of my companies, we do private equity. We buy and sell and invest in private equity. The other one, we do venture capital. So in private equity, 10 million revenue, okay, it's already a decent company. In 10 million revenue, they already almost 80% of them, they stuck there. They can't grow any longer because there is lack of capital. There is a lack of management. The level of people that run business in the around 10 million revenue, they are not managers. They are entrepreneurs, very skilled entrepreneurs, but they are not managers. We go back to startups. You can reach 1 million in revenue, which is good. You are very happy. You have done nothing. Zero. Absolutely. You prove something. Fine. You have done nothing. Because maybe you reach 1 million revenue, you have 2 million in the loss. Because for reaching this 1 million revenue, you have to spend 3 million. Okay? Because marketing, paying everything. Now, that's not the case. You can run a business, right? This concept that you can, you spend as much, American, you spend as much as you can to take market share. And after when you get enough market share to dominate the market, you can start reducing the cost, increase the revenue, and you go one day break even. Tesla, I believe, has been without break even for more than 10 years. Amazon has been without breaking even for Tesla, not even break even now.
Again.
But the point is they live on huge amount of money. Now, we are Europe. Let's talk about Europe. That's not the game you can do Europe. Forget this. So when you reach 1 million revenue and you are happy and you start scaling and you must go to 5 and 10 million, you realize that to go to 10 million, you must need another 30 million if you want to keep this business model. And you don't have 30 million. And you realize that when you start decreasing the expenditure because you want to break even, sales go down to hell because they are based only on this massive expenditure. That's why they'll fail. All of them, they die because all of them use the same business model. Why? Because they just copy and paste. These guys, they do all the same thing. They use one model that works for some and they try to replicate and they all die because they lack of cash. One day cash finish, you go to investors and they say, you know what, stop. Because in investing, there's one rule that we all, at least me, I absolutely follow. If I'm going to invest to you, I'm not going to invest to you saying to me, I'm going to give this guy as much money as he needs to success. Of course not. I'm going to give you enough money that I believe you can go. If you're good enough, you can go. At the same time, I can't break with other money I'm giving to others, right? So at least you fail, this will win. So if you come back to me and say, I need another 1 million, say, I gave it to you what I believe I can give to you. Because the other will give it to the other, because I need to de-risk my investment. I'm not going to put all the money into you, because otherwise what I'm going to do. So I prefer in a very simple way to lose 1 million and you close, you give another 1 million and to lose 2. This is how investment works in any kind of investment, not only venture capital. So this is why founders should learn a bit more how investors deploy the money. When founders go to talk to investors, they should know what investors think about investing, how to approach investing. This is why going back to failing maybe while you're scaling, because you don't have enough cash to scale, use the model that you are using. But at the same time, understand why. Because if investors are asking you 20, 30% month-on-month growth, how can you achieve this month-on-month growth without massive marketing and promotions, whatever it takes? All right. So you make them happy, not for long. You get yourself stressed like hell. You ended up closing anyway. Because the model you're adopting is totally wrong. Unless you have a huge amount of cash, a massive commitment from the investors, won't be the case of Europe, at least for the very few, to back you as much as they can until you leave, like they did with Tesla, as they did with Amazon and
Twitter. With Twitter, I think is a good example of the business that was burning money.
all of them. But the American model is not, you can't replicate in Europe at all. Zero. There is not this huge pro-risk approach. There is not this huge amount of cash. So forget, you must be lean in Europe. You must be very much lean how to scale your startup. Any dollar, any euro, any pound you're using must create 3 and not -3. And this is not for everyone. I can tell you why. 90% of the founders are tech guys. Very skilled in technology, very skilled in management. So when you need to manage and need to hire people, and this is where the disaster comes. You say something very, very right. Up to 10, they can still handle the team. Up to 20, they already go crazy. 50 people, they have no idea what to do. They need to start hiring an HR. They need to start hiring. And when you hire, it's complicated. There's nothing true. I made so many mistakes in hiring. Hiring is very complicated. But at the same time, all the hiring is absolutely wrong. Totally wrong. You need to hire exactly what you need. And also founders must learn what means hiring and what means delegating. And for delegating, you need to hire the right people. And many startups fail because they hire the wrong people. And when they hire, they rush hiring because they want to grow fast. I mean, it's a domino. And you end up in absolutely failure. That's the end of almost all startups. It's sad, right? Because being an entrepreneur is beautiful. And when you fail, you burn cash. They didn't create anything except temporary jobs. Meanwhile, when you succeed, you create from 1 million to 10 million in return to the investors. Those investors can reinvest the money. You are creating more jobs. So any failure for me, it's a pain. Seriously, I'm very sad when I see founders failing. Also because this guy doesn't sleep at night. They dedicate an entire life or creating something and they fail. But as I said to everyone, if you need to fail fast. Go seriously, fail fast. Stop, close it, move, do another one. But before moving to another one, take 1 month. Stop it. Go back from day one. Write all you've done, and because doing this, if you fail, you made so many mistakes. So study one by one, avoid to repeat again. That's why second founders are more successful than first founders, because they learned.
All right. Let's finish with something maybe positive. Why would you want to become, entrepreneur? Like what we said, unfortunately, was you will have sleepless nights, you will have pressure from investors, and most likely you'll fail. Why it's worth becoming an entrepreneur, nevertheless?
I mean, you don't become an entrepreneur. I believe you're born an entrepreneur. It's a mindset. Entrepreneur is a mindset. It's unbelievable mindset. Because, come on, who wants to live such a miserable life for 20, 36 months, even 5 years, where your friend go on holiday, you must be home, or your office is not going to be a luxury office for sure. And you stay there trying to fix the problem. Sleep as less as you can and fix the problem. That's your day and night. You do this because it's such a massive passion. And you do this because for you, doesn't mean going to work. You actually enjoy what you're doing. That's why entrepreneurship is beautiful, right? That's why entrepreneurs, I love them because they challenge themselves every single day. But you don't become an entrepreneur. It's very, I believe, if you start a company because entrepreneurship is inside you, and before or later it will come. Many managers well paid. Ask them, stop being a manager, go to be an entrepreneur. They will tell you, why should I do something similar? I get paid 20, 30, 50,000 per month. Why should I quit and open a company to become a billionaire? Who cares, right? So I'm actually enjoying what I do. I have much more free time. I don't have the problem of going bankrupt. If the company goes bankrupt, I get another one. So it's a totally different mindset. And I strongly believe you don't become an entrepreneur. You're born an entrepreneur, as you're born a singer, a performer. And maybe you are not going to be an entrepreneur because actually
It's trendy.
You don't find a call, right? Sometimes. or you get used to what you're doing. But as you said, if you are becoming an entrepreneur because it's trendy now, there is so much hype on startups. I think there are one event for startup every day. Today there is the Dublin Tech Summit as well. So if you want, you can have one event per day, because the hype of venture capital is huge today in terms of startups. But again, you don't become an entrepreneur. Forget. You must be an entrepreneur, because again, it's just too tough.
Okay, thank you very much, and let's hope it was of use to someone.